The Russians have been trying to capture Bakhmut since August and have made painfully slow progress so far. Only until recently, they haven't seen any success at all in this campaign. Russia and the Wagner mercenary group have sunk a ton of resources into this campaign, and it makes people wonder, why is this city so important? A lot of Ukrainian sources say that Bakhmut has no strategic value at all and it's Putin being crazy. However, that's not necessarily true, but it's also not as important as the Russians are making it seem either. And with the current situation on the flanks, a lot of people are asking what's going to happen if Ukraine loses this city. Bakhmut is a big central logistics hub in this area of Ukraine. You can see the major highways marked in orange and blue that go into the city and go out. Back when the front line was still behind Soledar, Ukraine was using the Siversk highway that goes through Bakhmut to mainly get supplies to Siversk. These roads are much more effective in carrying equipment than the ones by Liman and Zarichne. Russia capturing Bakhmut and consolidating some of their gains by Siversk will allow them to fully utilize these new supply routes that they have unlocked now. This also takes away a lot of the centralization that Ukraine has in this area. However, with different redundant roads, they'll be able to make up for it. Realistically, right now, it seems like Russia should have taken over Bakhmut a week or two ago. The Wagner group has become very overstretched in this northern pocket above Bakhmut. They're more currently focused on Oryohovo, Vasilivka, and Zalynyanske right now. If Wagner really wants to take over this area, they should fortify their positions up by Zalynyanske and Oryohovo, Vasilivka and refocus their efforts into taking Hromove and Ivanivske. This would force the Ukrainians inside of the city to leave, and then they'd complete the operation. If they theoretically take over Bakhmut, this is likely what the front line will look like. It'll stabilize along the Donetsk Canal by Chasiv Yar, and up north it'll likely stay the same around the settlements that are currently controlled right now. Russia and Wagner haven't pushed in this area up north by Rozdolivka or south of Siversk in a while. The Bakhmutovka River sort of makes this hard, with Ukraine anchoring their defense in bigger settlements by Rozdolivka, Fedorivka, and Vasyukivka. People were wondering why they just let the Russians cross the river at Sako Ivanseti, but the truth is this is just like a farm and like a couple houses, and there's no way to set up proper defense there. The elevation also works in Ukraine's favor here, with them having high ground pretty much all around in the area. They have it by Vasyukivka, Fedorivka, and Rozdolivka. Zalynyanske is an area that Russia has just captured recently. However, Ukraine has pretty strong high ground above it, which is going to make pushing further harder, especially with the mud conditions on the ground right now. It's the same for Oryohovo, Vasilivka, and this area by FreeKherson. I think I got that. Let's go! So Ukraine should be able to set up defense on these hills by these areas. Taking Bakhmut isn't going to lead to some massive frontline collapse if Ukraine is able to withdraw their troops effectively. There's plenty of good geographic barriers and settlements where they can set up defense past Bakhmut. What this is mainly going to do is give Russia a big keystone right here to further their offensives into the region before. Currently, they don't really have a good operational base to continue their Bakhmut campaign. Popasna has been effectively destroyed because of the war, so that one's out. One of the areas like Kadivka or Alchevsk, Luhansk or Horlivka is likely where most of the stuff is coming in. However, controlling Bakhmut gives them a big area where they can start to project power outwards into the rest of the Donetsk Oblast. But right now, Ukraine seems to be holding down the defense pretty well. If Bakhmut falls, Ukraine is going to lose a bit of emotional significance as well as some supply and logistics troubles, but Russia isn't going to have a massive breakthrough. They're just going to gain a bigger supply hub and a decent area to project their power outwards. Taking Bakhmut made a lot more sense back in August when the front line used to look a little bit different. There was a point where Russia had control over this entire region right here. The main cities that Russia needs to capture to effectively end the war are Sloviansk and Kramatorsk. These are the two keystone cities of the Donetsk Oblast. And back when they controlled this whole swath of territory up north, it made more sense to go through Bakhmut to attempt to hit these cities from all sides. But after the Kharkiv counterattack, Russia lost this complete vector of attack, and taking these cities head on from the east is going to be a big problem. The majority of the fighting around Bakhmut was mostly on the outskirts in an attempt to encircle the city. However, if they only have the vector of attack from the east, there's no way that they're going to be able to effectively encircle or flank the Sloviansk line. In Kostiantynivka, Kramatorsk, and Sloviansk are even up to 2 times as big as Bakhmut. Ukraine has shown their proficiency in urban combat, and that's one of the major weaknesses that we've seen in the Russian army so far. And considering that Sloviansk, Kramatorsk, Drushivka, and Kostiantynivka, those are the main aims of the war right now, it's likely that Russia is going to replace the Wagner mercenaries with the actual Russian field army in this area. Putin doesn't really trust Wagner to carry out the main offensive of the goal as a mercenary group. And this also depicts how the capture of Bakhmut could lead to internal strife inside of Russia. The leader of the Wagner group, Prigozhin, has serious problems with the current defense ministry. He talks about needing supplies a lot, and in an effort to protect their own face, the Russian Ministry of Defense have been sort of cutting back on the supplies that he can get. They don't want a leader of a mercenary group to do better than the professional Russian army. So a major problem that Wagner is facing is the lack of equipment. This is also partially due to the sanctions that have been levied on Russia over the course of the war. Gene Helfrich, Stig Grun, David Appel, Delo Matatas, Phil Martin, Punic Wars, Robert Jenkins, Richard Quadri, Russell Whiskey, Stephen Benz, Evie Fong, Evan Shin, Mr. Walkman, Rye Jones, Chaspex, Smile Daydream, Javette Witter, and a special thanks to my third tier members, Jacob Munch, Joel Raindell, Mike Q, Joe Sauer, PG, JG Bashlow, Nita Adressa, Maxim Zavrsinski, Jane Dungu, Matthew Barnes, and that is it. I can't believe we have 25 members already. That is incredible. I never expected this amount of support when I first started out. And who knows how many more we're gonna go. I've liked uploading again. I like being back. Sorry that I disappear sometimes. And yes, I am stretching this video out to 8 minutes. I like money, I'm gonna be honest.